Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. We're asking a big question in this second part. As a matter of fact, it's an unofficial second part with General Dushyant Singh, trying to understand the mindset of the Pakistani army. We've had one episode before where we've talked about is the army living in a complete delusion or what is the actual matter with them. Today we take that journey a little forward to actually understand do they really want this chaos and what is the hidden story on why they are not coming in and splitting the show. For that, as you all can see, I have Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh. Sir, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Adi. It's always good to be back on your channel and discuss something which is of interest to, I think, almost the entire South Asian continent.
Pakistan, yes, sir. I mean,
At
never
least,
fails to amazes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Sir, just opening question first. You know, everybody would have thought, कि यार Pakistan army has the answers. They इनको सब कुछ पता है, इनको सब पता है कैसे हैंडल करना है. पैसे पूसे भी हैं इनके पास. They've got stuff. They're not just just another random force which is being put together. Here today, they have any answers first and foremost, and do they actually see this country going in a direction that they dreamed of?
Look, I think Pakistan Army was fairly confident that it has the wherewithals to keep the nation united. Unlike other armies in the world, which have primarily the task of defense against external threats, Pakistan Army has given upon itself a self-proclaimed task of ensuring the national unity of Pakistan. So that is the third role actually officially given by them. External threats, internal security when called for, but the third one is to ensure the national unity or integrity of Pakistan. And what does that mean? It means holding Pakistan together. It also means that Pakistani army assumes for itself a role beyond the role of the three major systems of a democratic or any country, which is basically the executive, which can be compared to a dictator in an authoritarian country, and then it is the legislature which makes the law, and the judiciary, right? Pakistani army is above all these three. If you
Correct.
want to, so if you want to make a hierarchy, so if it is above all these three, it is the king of the kings. Hence, the Pakistan has to be protected by this. My feeling is that in the current situation, because of triple whammies, essentially, first is the Tariq-e-Taliban, Pakistan going haywire, not in the control of the Pakistani army. That screws up their internal security situation. Then you have the political class, which is, I think, of the lowest caliber since independence. And finally, you have the floods and the COVID, which have created an economic disaster of the highest proportion. Now, these three, four things have made Pakistan a very, very vulnerable country. And to me, it appears that Pakistan army does not want to hold this sick baby and wants the political class to somehow steer it through and earn the bad name, whatever it is, for Pakistani political class rather than the Pakistani army. Maybe that is one of the, although people also attribute it to the fact that Kamar Bajwa said that since last February, they have become a neutral army, recognizing himself that till then, Pakistan army was never a neutral army. When you make a statement like this, you somehow
It's a flip
also
side.
acknowledge the fact that you were actually doing what the Pakistani nation was facing. So somewhere, I don't think that has got any major value. because he was retiring, and thereafter Asim Munir is an independent man. He can do whatever he wants to do. It is a different matter that they are close to each other, but it doesn't mean that person who is close to somebody will. If you remember the first coup, uh, the president appointed Ayub Khan as the chief martial law administrator and Iskandar Mirza, and after 13 days, Ayub Khan threw him out of the presidentship. So, you know, all these things are very, very temporary. So, I don't think that is the major reason. What I told you, that possibly it is their inability to handle the current situation in an effective manner that they are keeping quiet about it. So before we go forward, I think there is a need for us to understand the historical context in which Pakistan Army emerged as the king of the kings of Pakistan, and then take the discussion forward about the rift in Pakistani army, which has become very, very pronounced in the current era or in the current time frame, especially after Imran Khan took over as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So if you could just play my slides. I don't think I'm
Okay,
able.
sir.
Yeah, correct. So, like I written in the heading, politico-military conundrum of Pakistan will describe today's situation. Basically, it is the combination of these two factors which has led to what Pakistan is today, carved out from India due to geostrategic compulsion. I'm going to bring in a different angle. It is taken from one of my ex-colleagues' discussion and article, General Amarjit Singh. It was essentially the geostrategic compulsions which which somehow led to carving out of Pakistan from India, and the tool utilized was extreme anti-Hindu obsession narrative, which was built by and promoted by the British in those eras, especially after the Second World War. If you remember, Jinnah was not in favor of partition till as late as 1940. It was only after that that Jinnah became, pro-partition. And of course, what this created was it was destroyed by a politico-military chaos created by generals and politicians. So what we are facing today, this is the summary of my discussion which we are going to have henceforth. And today the generals themselves are facing some kind of rift among themselves. Maybe that is also one of the reasons why they are not able to effectively intervene with the government, because they may not be having the entire army backing them. If you have a coup, as we go along, I'll tell you how many unsuccessful coups have taken place. That means it was a section of the army which was going for a coup, not taking the broadly majority of the army hierarchy into confidence before they went in for the coup. So currently, also it seems to be a situation like this, where because of the deep divide between the Pak army officers lot, especially the senior officers lot, a coup is appearing to be delayed, or Pakistani army's intervention seems to be delayed. Can we go to the next one? So, if you look at the historical context, the emergence of Pakistan army is rooted in the way it was formed, the way Pakistan was formed. Basically, on the face of it, on a two-nation theory, only partially true, as I've already highlighted. Idea was floated first time by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and thereafter the establishment of Muslim League took place in 1906. Uh, on 29 December 1930, in fact, you all would have heard about Muhammad Iqbal, a famous poet, who called for an autonomous Pakistan. And Jinnah remained opposed to the idea till about 1940, as I had told you. But once Churchill called him three times, they had a meeting three times with Churchill, Jinnah and Churchill, who promoted this idea that, you will always be a second rate citizen in India. So might as well ask for a separate Pakistan. Why he was doing this comes in the next few bullets. Used only by the British as part of a divide and rule. Of course, everybody knows about it. British created it due to geostrategic interest to contain USSR. What was happening was, after the Second World War, USSR was gaining a lot of prominence. It had the entire Eastern Europe under its control. This side, it was moving very strongly towards Afghanistan. They did not want the USSR to reach the port of Karachi, get access to the warm waters of Indian Ocean. And that was the major reason they thought that there is a need to create a country out of India, because India by now they knew had more seasoned politicians who would not follow blindly the line of the West. So therefore, this buffer state idea was mooted, in which Durand Line and the Karachi port were given as a boundary for a separate country. And thereafter, the narrative of anti-Hindu narrative was built up by the forces that be which wanted partition, and the entire otherwise till about 1940 the idea of Muslim League and a separate Muslim state was only in the textbooks. Very lip service was being given to this. Narrative building started from 1945 onwards, after the Second World War. Breakup was inevitable due to a number of differences, most prominent being the culture. Bangladesh was created because the idea of anti-Hindu was created. Now there were a large population which was there in the east also, which were Muslim. So an idea was created that okay, have a East Pakistan and West Pakistan. So somehow one thing led to the other, and a country so ill, I would say, ill thought about was created, with one wing on the other side of a country and the second wing on the other side of the country, separated by airspace and land space and what have you, no links between them. To reach East Pakistan, they would have had to fly over India. They could not go by land route. And if they circled around the oceans, it would be a very, very long route to reach Bangladesh. So, breakup of Pakistan was written the day it was created. India did nothing. India just let things happen the way they were happening, and finally the breakup took place. How did the army grab the center stage is the question in the Pak politics. This is the question which I would answer, and that would explain why Pak army became king of kings. We can go to the next slide. Look at the geostrategic leverage, and here the role of army comes in. Surveillance over USSR, Gary Powers and U2 incident. If you remember, he was shot down. What was it doing there? See, this thing was known to the USSR well before this shooting down. That US or the Western presence in Pakistan is to overlook or spy over USSR and have some control over China, but they didn't have any proof. Shooting down of this aircraft over the that time USSR airspace actually proved the point that they were indulging in it. Then defeat of USSR invasion in Afghanistan, Pakistan came handy. So it was a very long thought out plan by Winston Churchill. We must thank him, or we must actually whatever you want to say. He created this problem for India as far as we are concerned. See the way Henry Kissinger leveraged Pakistan to build ties with China during the 70s, also known as the ping pong diplomacy. Provision of military bases in Pakistan. We had a discussion on this, and there are some unconfirmed report that few bases still exist in Pakistan. U.S. global war on terror was launched through Pakistan. In the current concept, too, Pak serves as the purpose of managing China. After all, Pakistan has a good hold over China's uh, polity. In fact, they are supposed to be friends with who are higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the Indian Ocean. Friendship between the Pakistan and China, which the US or the West can easily exploit. So, was the two nation theory an aim or an instrument for achieving geostrategic purpose? Is my question. My question is, two nation theory was a narrative, a means to achieve the geostrategic aims of the West. Pak political class was at that point in time had greed for power. They were small states. who, I mean, rulers of small states who suddenly became independent. They wanted to grab as much of property which was possibly unclear as to who is the holder of the property because of the partition. They suddenly became rich, and they were secular. They had no radical thoughts or ideas. They were basically used to living with the British, and the British culture of wine and other things. So they were using, they were only using Islam as a tool to control, but that was not enough. What was required was a stick, and who could give the stick? The military. So therefore, they started wooing the military to get into politics. I'm talking of the senior officers. And the process was made easier by the West because till 1951, the commander of Pakistan Army was a Britisher. And the ISI was managed for 9 years by the British. So the tools of intelligence being managed by the West, their stick, or I would say the hard power being managed by the West in the formative years. If you remember, 1951, the first coup took place, which failed, of course, against Liaquat Ali Khan's government. So therefore, army started getting involved by these politicians only. And as I will go to the next one, go to the next slide. Otherwise, I'll preempt my discussion. At the time of uh, partition, British India was ruled by the British Indian Army through British Indian Army. We had a 200-year experience of keeping the country together. I'm talking of the British Indian Army. I'm not talking of the Indian Army or the Pakistani Army. So the our structures were geared for our internal security. I mean, let's think over it very deeply. 50% of the officers of the British Indian Army were from 5% population of Punjab. Rest, others mostly from martial races, which were also Northwest Frontier, etc., and the Rajputs and Jats, etc. Out of these, three-fourths were Indian officers. Only one-fourth were British officers. 33% of the army personnel and equipment went to Pakistan Army, whereas their population was only 19%. What do you read out of it as a common man? You read that the West, when they did the distribution, because that time the commanders on both sides were Britishers, when they did the distribution of the army, they gave Pakistan an army much more than what they needed. For a 19% share of the population, they get a 33% of army and equipment. So India was deprived of the equipment. India was deprived of the number of personnel who should have gone to India. Logically, it should have been a at best 2080 distribution. Now this surplus army which went there, what should it do? So it started inventing Kashmir, sent Radhakars there, started dilly-dallying with the hobnobbing with the political class, feudal class of Pakistan, got into politics. Okay, then I've already covered this, that the Pak army remained under the British command until 1951, and the first coup also took place during that particular period. US still had the strategic bases in Pakistan till very recently. You're aware of it. U-2 shot by USSR in 1960 over the airspace. Henry Kissinger. I've already covered this issue. Partition profile of Pak army. 90% of the officers from Punjab and Northwest Frontier, 10% from Sindh and Baluch, nil from East Pakistan. Again, disaster written over it that East Pakistan is going to go. Imagine you have a country, from the majority population of that country, you have no army officer in Pakistan army. Nil, zilch. Subsequently, of course, these people started coming in, But at the time of partition, they were nil. This profile, by and large, has remained constant, with a little bit of variation, little bit of corrections have been done. So, what do you see in the Pakistani army's composition? An ethnic imbalance, and this ethnic imbalance is now showing up in the form of rifts. Over Punjabization is now getting into the way of the rifts. I'm saying that this may not be the only reason, but this also has contributed in some form or the other to some kind of a, you know, uh, ill will or bad feelings within the army. Okay, you look at the Indian army today is by and large representative of the entire country. By and large, you would find, and from wherever they are not coming, it is the choice of the people of that area. That, like, you'll find very limited officers coming from Gujarat or West Bengal, etc. It is because those people don't want to get in, or from the south, extreme south, you may not find too many guys, but then you have people from Karnataka and other places, fairly large in numbers. So if you go to the next one, how did the to summarize, I would say, how did the Pak army become the super government? Weak political leadership, I have already highlighted. At the time of partition, we had some fantastic scholars of constitution. Unfortunately, Pakistan did not enjoy the same kind of scholarship. They had, but very limited number of people, and even those guys who were there either died or were assassinated, or not given a chance. And you will see as we go along, secular feudal class and elite class wanted to control assets, and people started going the army. I've already told you about it. So army started emerging higher and higher in the political arena. West supported the Pak army, which started demanding its own strategic space. Because the West was promoting through the British commanders, etc., for the Pak army to seek more responsibilities, it started becoming more and more, say, demanding in terms of say in the governance, and therefore, and that is why defense and external affairs are still controlled by the Pakistani army. First successful coup in 1958, Iskandar Mirza was the president. He abrogated the constitution and the constituent assembly only. So all those guys who were writing, etc., they were all they were all sent to gallows. Thank you, General Ayub Khan as the CMLA, who took weeks, who 2 weeks later overthrew the Iskandar Mirza government. Democracy was put into the coffin on that day for Pakistan. Until date, it sees a very very khichdi democracy, which is at the beck and call of the Pakistani army. Since then, army has controlled Pakistan either directly or indirectly, with two more successful coups in 77 and 1999, and subsequently, as I have been telling in my previous discussion, through proxy rule of facade civilian governments, controls the defense and external affairs, and keepers of national unity. Hence, what has happened? The hierarchy of Pak army: civilian executive, legislature, and judiciary. This is the hierarchy of Pakistan. Army on the top, civilian executives, legislature, and judiciary. Judiciary is the last, and we'll see what is happening to the judiciary. And then there are some free radicals moving around in Pakistan, and those are mullahs and the and the terror sarganas of Pakistan, who have their own now strategic space, say so to say. Now this is the conundrum before Imran Khan. Let me put it this way. Okay.
May I
Now,
just, if you don't
yeah,
mind,
go ahead. Yeah.
you, the free radicals have strategic space. Now
Yes.
that's something which is very interesting. That's a very deep statement, sir. I mean, you,
So, so TTP has a strategic space today. When it says that it will launch attacks across the across Pakistan, what does that mean? When it has started influencing a group of people in Pakistani army, what does that mean? When it has Imran Khan, who was known as Taliban Khan, I mean, once upon a time, that means it has some space in the political arena as well.
are you
So I'm
hinting
saying
that
that
Imran Khan is close to the TTP, sir?
no, right from beginning. I'm not saying he's close to TTP, but definitely he's close to the cause of Taliban. Okay, he's close to the cause of Taliban. Maybe he's using it for his personal reasons and personal gains. That's why I said, they're very good to begin with in the short term. But when you get into power, then you realize they have become the Frankenstein monsters. So that people learn, with time. So let us now come to the rifts in the Pakistani army. I want to make a statement here and say that the rift is not new. It was always existing in Pakistani army, but it was not to the magnitude what has happened post Imran or once Imran took over as the government. For example, in 1951, the unsuccessful coup by Major General Akbar Khan against Liaquat Ali Khan. Liaquat was a very popular leader. Unfortunately, Jinnah died early. Liaquat was assassinated. I hope you all know about it. There are conspiracy theories that he was assassinated for A reason, B reason, C reason, that USSR assassinated him because he was anti communist. Some say the West is behind their assassination. Whatever be the reason, because he was not actually he was tending to be more uh, having a more independent say for Pakistan, although aligned to the West. But they felt that if a civilian leader becomes possibly strong, then their agenda of pushing the Pakistani military up would suffer. And that is why possibly that coup was also attempted. Then 1953-54, their Governor General Gulamuddin dismissed the government of Nazam Hussain and also dismissed the Constituent Assembly which was writing the constitution. Slowly, the efforts of the Pakistan army paid off, and in 1958, through convincing or whatever you may call it, a successful coup was done by Ayub Khan. But do you know 1971 there was an unsuccessful coup by Brigadier FB Ali against Yahya Khan due to the 71 war? Again, there was an unsuccessful coup in 1973 by Brigadier FB Ali again and few officers against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
The same guy twice, sir?
Same guy twice. The reason they say is that he was convinced that because they neglected East Pakistan, we reached this stage. We shouldn't have neglected East Pakistan. So he was somehow of the other. You see, by that time there were officers of the East Pakistan also inside. I don't know. I have not checked whether FB Ali was from Bangladesh or of the this variety. But
No,
there was a coup attempt made.
that besides, sorry to interrupt you,
Hmm.
they didn't kind of shoot him the first time he tried it.
Yes,
They let him be.
yes.
Now,
War would have started. I don't know the exact reason why they let him be. Maybe he would have apologized or whatever it is.
apparently, they didn't do anything, sir, because the guy tried to do it again.
Yeah, but the fact is he attempted it twice, right? Then you had Major General Malik who tried to assassinate General Zia in 1980. Pervez Musharraf, all of you must be knowing, 4 times attempts were made to assassinate. What I'm trying to get at is that ISI is controlling all these free radicals, yet some free radical goes and tries to attempt an assassination of Pervez Musharraf. It means that there were elements opposed to the ruling military class which were probably doing this underhand deal of launching or removing him through assassination. It's only an inference I'm trying to make, but somewhere there could be this, these could be the reasons for rifts between within the army. Why the coup became unsuccessful? Maybe they did not take bulk of the senior officers on board before they did this kind of a thing. Maybe the free radicals did not they were not able to approach very strong free radicals who would be able to assassinate Pervez Musharraf. Some people also say that they were staged assassination attempts by Pervez Musharraf to gain sympathy. Whatever be the reason, one of the inferences is what I can draw from the unsuccessful coups is that possibly within the Pak army also and within the ISI also, there were factions which were kind of opposed to the ruling dispensation of the country. Okay. Then you had Brigadier Ali Khan and four officers attempted conspiracy against General Kayani in 2012, as late as 2012. So, officers have been there who were not very happy with the Pakistani army's senior officers. And 1995, General Abbasi attempted an unsuccessful coup against Benazir Bhutto, although they managed to overcome this particular thing. So these are signs of rift within the army. They are signs of rift within the army. Some people didn't want what the Pakistan army was trying to do at a particular point in time. So these were the beginnings of the differences which were surfacing over a period of time. Go to the next one, and here you will see the Faiz Hamid Kamar Bajwa episode. Yeah,
Were these differences or were these deliberate lines created so that the Pakistani army would find it easy to control?
but I won't be able to hazard a very uh, give you a very firm answer to this. I'm only making an inference to say that there were sections within the Pakistani army which were not so happy with the that times ruling dispensation of the or the senior leadership of the Pakistani army, which means that there were sections which were dissatisfied within that. Now, can you call them as full rift? No, they would be, but the fact that they could come up to a stage of launching a coup attempt means that there was some seriousness in their effort. It could not be totally a staged or deliberately created actions, as you are trying to say. Some of them definitely would have been possibly a deliberate attempt, but I think with so many attempts, definitely few of them were of a serious nature. You see, you must realize 2007 onwards, Pakistani army was fighting the Taliban or in northwestern frontiers, Waziristan and those areas. They were not liking that fighting against their own men, and so therefore there were a section of officers who were not very happy with this kind of a approach which the Pakistan army had taken. And they were using aircraft, they were using tanks, those kind of things were being used, which was not to the like. Nowhere in the insurgencies you used it. They were just aping the western model of Afghanistan on their own people.
If I may venture a guess, it was General Hamid Gul, one of them.
uh, no, no. That is Faz Hamid I'm talking about. I'm not sure whether it was Hamid Gul or not, but uh, definitely these were young junior officers. They were not very senior officers, major generals and below. So the senior, they were basically against the policy of the senior leadership of the military. That's why possibly these attempts were made to maybe register their protest. So if you look at the Faiz Hamid drama, Asim Munir replaced by Faiz Hamid due to proximity with Imran, everybody knows. Faiz Hamid came close to Qamar Bajwa at one point in time. It is commonly believed that Faiz Hamid, because of his proximity to Imran Khan, actually ensured the 3 year extension for Qamar Bajwa. And so therefore he was for a period of time fairly well disposed towards the Qamar Bajwa leadership and also Imran Khan. Both were kind of in optimizing solution. All three of them, Imran, Faiz Hamid, and Qamar Bajwa. But where the problem started off was when Faiz Hamid went to Afghanistan to establish the government, Haqqani government, or get Haqqani the plum uh, post of the interior security, as also get maximum Pashtuns into the ruling cabinet. I believe, and as per Gautam Murthy also, uh, and based on his research as well, he went without the permission of Qamar Bajwa. And this was not liked by Qamar Bajwa. Qamar Bajwa felt that if this man can do this much, I mean, imagine an officer serving under you. I can't even go to the other formation, leave aside talking of going to another government, another country, forming a government. It indicates two things. It indicates Faiz Hamid's control over ISI, control over Taliban, and control over the civilian military relationship, which was going far beyond the control of Qamar Bajwa. So, which chief will like this? And therefore, you had the great split which took place, and thereafter started the drama of or saga of Faiz Hamid Qamar Bajwa differences. 1953 to 54, I've already we are this actually led to thereafter. I think there was a wrong point inserted in between. This led to Punjab Pashtun rift between the army, and what we are seeing is some kind of a extension of this rift into the veterans community now. Pakistani veterans are now calling for a strong democracy, support to the Supreme Court, pitching for an early election in Punjab and KPK, and telling the ruling dispensation, without naming the army or the civilian class, that you must give support to the Supreme Court. You're aware that the government is trying to draft a new law and tell that Supreme Court cannot take a decision like this and blah blah blah. They want to have a full bench of Supreme Court to, and there is now some elements in the if I have read just in the U.S. press, it has come today's news that there is Sherman. I think Mr. Sherman is the part of the External Affairs Committee, uh, who has written to Anthony Blinken saying that uh, US must intervene on behalf of the for the human rights violations which are taking place, for curbing the speech of Imran Khan, for interfering into the judiciary, etc., and take the situation under control. Now, this has been submitted to Anthony Blinken within the US Congress. So, therefore, there seems to be two major wars taking place here, and the other community, that is the Pashtun community, represented now by and large by Imran Khan, seems to be also working at the international level through the and also they have created rifts between the veterans also. Earlier, Pakistani veterans never ever spoke against any army related actions or steps, but now they are coming out in the open. They have a signed declaration which they have actually given out. And I believe some people have said that uh, within the family of serving people, while the army officer may be supporting Asim Munir and Shahbaz Sharif, their family is supporting Imran Khan. Their children and their wives are supporting Imran Khan. Now, this is a serious rift. If it is true, if these rumors are true, if these things which are coming out on the social media are taken to be true, then we are seeing a serious damage to the Pakistani army. And you remember my statement of the last time: no Pak army, no Pakistan. So we may see a situation going to that. You should also see that there were two generals who resigned after Asim Munir was appointed, because Asim Munir's appointment itself is under controversy. He was to retire. His announcement was made 3 days early, so that that retirement clause is not applicable to Asim Munir, and that is how the two generals. One was, of course, Faiz Hamid. So today there is a very strong camp of pro Imran and pro the current ruling dispensation, which is now prevailing within the. There are also rumors, and this is very, 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 very serious if it is true, that initially, actually, General, this fellow's name, what is his name? Samshul Mirza, who is the chief of Joint Staff Committee, was the favored candidate of Kamar Bajwa to take over as the chief of army staff. Somehow, the current government felt that they should take a chap who's totally anti Imran, and that anti Imran person, Asim Munir, because he had been replaced by Faiz Hamid. So if he's replaced by Faiz Hamid, he would be anti Faiz Hamid. Faiz Hamid is strongly close to Imran, so Asim Munir would be actually close to, uh, totally opposed to Imran Khan. So he is one person who will not go for any decision which favors Imran Khan. So therefore, Asim Munir was the safest bet for this, and so therefore they neglected others. There were many people who were actually eligible for Pakistani chief, but they selected a person who was absolutely safe for them, and Asim Munir fitted that bill. There is a nice article on this in ANI, so you can go through that and see exactly the how the six generals who were qualified were slowly eliminated. Samshul was there was one general, I'm forgetting his name, Noor or somebody, Munir, I think, who used to play both sides. So they said, yeah, this man is dangerous. He will turn court. Moment the palra of one side is bhari, his name was removed. So like this, they found the only chap safe was who's totally with heart against Imran Khan, and that was Asim Munir. But what is happening is Mirza's, who is the chief of joint staff, who was to become the chief, most likely chief, is, I believe, working underhand through DGISI, who is leaking information about Asim Munir so that he can be discredited, and Samsul Mirza takes over as the chief of army staff. And this, if it is true, this could be a hearsay, this could be a conspiracy, this could be a rumor mongering, this could be also a propaganda. But if there is any truth in this information, then we are going to see Pakistan army for the first time seeing a crisis of such a magnitude, where between two generals there will be a rift. I'm sure I'll invite a lot of flake for this statement, but I thought, since it is there in the air, might as well tell people can take their own call. I am not sure about it, so I'm not authenticating it by any degree of certainty. But there are, हवा में जब कुछ धुआं उड़ता है तो कुछ न कुछ तो इसमें सच्चाई होती है. जहाँ धुआं दिख रहा है तो कुछ कहीं आग लगी होगी. Operation against TTP, surrender of army units, intensification of rift. I'm again saying that why that Pashtun, that divide which is taking place. And mind you, Baluch, there is a fairly large number of people from the northwest frontier. And in the end, I have already covered this, that Lieutenant General Nadeem Anjum, the present DG ISI, may be working at cross purposes with Munir, right?
Really?
He may be, that's what I'm saying. He's leaking some information about Asim Munir.
Okay, this is very interesting. मतलब
So,
कौन
so
किसकी
there,
टीम में है सर?
हाँ जी,
कौन किसकी
इसका
टीम में है सर?
ये कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा है, इसीलिए मैंने बोला कि सीनियर लेवल पे जो रिफ्ट चल रही हैं इस समय पाकिस्तान आर्मी में, और ये भी एक रीजन हो सकता है, ये भी एक रीजन हो सकता है कि पाकिस्तान आर्मी इस समय उस हालत में नहीं है कि इंटरवीन करे। क्योंकि अगर जब तक ये सारे एक एक बिसात में नहीं बैठ जाते हैं, जब तक ये सारे जो कोर कमांडर होते हैं ना इनके 10, जब तक ये एग्री नहीं करते हैं कि हम देश में आपकी सत्ता चलेगी, तब तक coup करना इतना आसान नहीं है। सो मुझे जहाँ तक लग रहा है कि वो नहीं मिल रही है, इंटरनल कोहेजन आर्मी की नहीं मिल रही है, जिसकी वजह से पाकिस्तान आर्मी अभी इस हालत में नहीं है कि वो कुछ इंटरवीन कर पाए इफेक्टिवली। और वो जो कमर बाजा वाली स्टेटमेंट है कि हम न्यूट्रल हो गए हैं और अब आइंदा से हम इसी पोजीशन में रहेंगे, मुझे उसमें कोई ज़्यादा वो वेट नज़र नहीं आता। वो भी बोल गए कि हमारे खाली 33,000 प्रिजनर्स थे। कौन सी अथॉरिटी से बोला, जबकि गिनती करी गई है, फिजिकल काउंटिंग करके 93,000 वापस किए गए हैं। तो मतलब ये तो ब्लेटेंट लाई हो गई। तो उनकी उस स्टेटमेंट को मैं तो बिल्कुल ही सरे से नकारता हूँ। आई टोटली deny and to totally disagree with whatever he has said, seriousness of what he has said. So finally, what are the likely implications? And here we will come to the end. No Pak army, no Pakistan. I have already said this. Are we real? Are we leading? Is Pakistan leading towards that situation? My mind is the journey has started. The journey has started. Asim may be displaced by Jan Samsud. अगर ये हो गया तो जर्नी पूरी तरह शुरू हो जाएगी, फिर देन इट विल स्टार्ट रनिंग इन अ वेरी रैपिड मैनर। Radical elements pro Imran may gain upper hand if Imran wins the election. Then also it's a very bad situation. Their their faction within the armed forces may then do something very serious within the army. Faiz Hamid may be called back. After all, you have to change some rules only to get people at right places, some advisor or something like that. Some post will be created for him to do the necessary orchestrations with, and he has still has his connections, in the region of Afghanistan and northwest frontier. He was corps commander there for a while. Of course, Bajwa realized that he has sent him to the wrong place, so thereafter he was sidestepped to some other place. Then you have uh, if the Pak army remains united behind Asim Munir, scope of implementation of IMF conditions may enhance. I'm saying that just in case the upper three don't happen and Asim Munir is able to pull through all this confusion, then we will see a degree of unity in the Pakistani army. And thereafter, maybe Pakistan army may take over the situation. I won't call it as coup, but maybe through a very strong, through a very gullible proxy, they will take over the situation in Pakistan. Various projects of the Chinese which are languishing may start happening in that case. Role of China will become dangerous as far as India is concerned, because if there is a military dispensation within the Pakistan, then the Chinese will get even more freer run into Pakistan. Not because Pakistanis can do anything to stop them. It is because Chinese may find it easy to control the internal situation of Pakistan if there is a military ruler there. So they would be able to dictate terms to them, ensure security here, put a division there, don't bother about India for the time being. I'm talking from that point of view. We will take care of India. We will create some situations on the other side. So it may become a very dangerous situation in the event of Munir holding on and ensuring security. And and if by any chance Asim Munir, after he takes over or after uh, his proxy control over Pakistan, situation still doesn't improve, then we may have India being targeted in some form or the other in a major manner of the likes of Mumbai, Pathankot, or Pulwama to unite the Pakistani army and in turn unite the Pakistani nation. So for me, the lesson is the last bullet. Let's not help Pakistan recover. It is already on the path of destruction. We should stand off and watch them destroying themselves. If it is already committing suicide, what is the need for us to go and poke our nose at this stage? We should bother for the after effects because of this last bullet which I told you. That the sense of anti-India, it's not even anti-Hindu, its anti-India notion of Pakistan is so strong that it rides over all differences of theirs, including differences between the Pakistani army. And somewhere here the Pashtun culture will help them. जब सामने से खतरा है, भाई के ऊपर खतरा है तो भाई के साथ ले लो, फैमिली के ऊपर खतरा है तो फैमिली के पूरे साथ हो जाओ, गांव पे खतरा है तो पूरे गांव एक साथ हो जाओ, देश पे खतरा है तो पूरा देश एक साथ हो जाओ. That culture is something which transcends across all the society norms in Pakistan, especially if it is anti India. As I told you in my last discussion, that the Indian Pakistani army officer, the day he gets commissioned, he is born and brought up to only think of fighting India. You will fight India. You are meant to fight India. India is your enemy. And lastly, I didn't mention it here for simple reason that in the event of a breakup of Pakistan, the nuclear issue would become a major issue, major problem. And for that, I think my sense is that Pakistan army will ensure that it doesn't disintegrate. It keeps the nuclear card well under its control, because that gives them a lot of leverage, that gives them a lot of money, that gives them a lot of say in the political geopolitical arena. The fact that they are a nuclear power gives them that leverage to negotiate for their help. And everybody, why do you think everybody says let's help Pakistan out, let's help Pakistan out? It's because of this nuclear card. So Pakistan army knows that till the time we hold our nuclear assets well managed, people will not fear any major chaos in Pakistan. I mean, I'm talking of the international powers will not feel any major chaos in Pakistan. So, to my mind, this was what is all about what is happening in the Pakistan army. And thank you. I would like to just quote here Stephen Cohen, because he has captured the very essence of Pakistan. For the foreseeable future, the army's vision, Pakistan Army, army's vision of itself, its domestic role, and Pakistan's strategic environment will be the most important factor in shaping Pakistan's destiny. No Pak Army, no Pakistan. Said in a different manner. And read the first line. Army's vision of itself. They are the keepers of national unity. The first slide which I told you. I hope you are more confused when we started than what than
Sir,
when we.
Pakistan, the deal is, see, everybody talks about Pakistan, sir. That's the, one thing that I'd like to say before we move forward. But, and I'm not saying this as a flattery, but today's discussion has been on a different angle. We brought across why they can't do a coup at the moment, because a lot
Yes.
of us wonder that, yeah, Khatam karo yaar, just do the coup, be done with it. Why are you letting these morons run the show? I mean,
I
for the
told you the
lack of a
reason.
better way, kick some butts and get the damn thing moving.
I told you the reason why they can't do this,
See,
and the
that's
reasons are
that's what you would expect Pakistani army to do, right? You would expect them to do something to move this ship forward. But when they don't, and they, I won't say lie low, they're still dabbling in politics and stuff like that, but they're not as effective as you would wonder, as you would expect them to be.
they are currently in a situation where they are taking baby steps to correct the system.
Yeah.
इलेक्शंस को पोस्टपोन करा दो, कर दिया उसने। सुप्रीम कोर्ट बीच में आ गया, अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कैसे कंट्रोल करें? Now either they really give some indirect dhamki to the Supreme Court guys that you
They
rechange
just said we
because
are at war.
so
Khatam.
something like that. They are at war, or that is why the danger of India comes in here. That the only way now it appears we should not give them the situation or create a situation for Pakistan where they feel that unless we do something in India, we will not survive. Pakistan military is in a very bad state as far as their equipment is concerned, as far as the motivation is concerned. See the effect of food shortages, effect of economic inflation is going to be felt by the people also. No? They are also part of the Pakistani society. Of course, they're getting money, but उनका परिवार है, उनके लोग, बाकी लोग भी
Family, yeah,
associate
yeah. Family,
भी हैं.
friends, this, that.
So everybody is getting affected. I am a Pashtun. I am fighting. I am part of a Pakistani army. Although they do a lot of screening. ISI is very uh, particular about screening everyone before they allow somebody to become a commissioned officer. Yet when they marry, the marriage is not screened. Na? Children are not screened. Na? तो वो क्या कर रहे हैं, उनकी क्या इंटरनल सिचुएशन है, इट विल अफेक्ट द सर्विंग सोल्जर एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम.
Let's take some questions. So this has been a very, you've looked at it from a different spin.
Yeah,
And
I
that's the game with Pakistan, because at the end of it, what everybody's been trying to do, and I've said this quite a bit in my channel, is that we can't say Pakistan is failing because the economy is failing, because Pakistan has a whole another economy which is at the back end that nobody knows about. We can't
I
say
told
that
you.
Pakistan is failing because there's political crisis. There's always been a political crisis in Pakistan. When has there been political stability?
Yeah.
So
Pakistan Army very recently acquired a huge swath of land in Punjab.
yeah, that's
Last
for
time, last time I told you, they had made a statement, we will never run short of land. भले ही पूरा पाकिस्तान फ्लड्स में बह जाए. They don't look beyond a particular thing. But what I'm trying to say is that Pakistan is a very complex country to understand. So it's not easy to understand that country. There are multiple factors, and we have not even talked about mullahs. We have not even talked about the free radicals, which I just mentioned in the
the
passing.
whole divide between ethnicity and religion. I mean, the other day I was having a conversation with Mr. Tilak Devasar. He
Yeah,
brought out this very interesting thing, that there is a divide between ethnicity and religion, which
correct.
normally when we are analyzing situations, we say religion first, because the Islamism has always been a very strong in the face sort of a thing. So it's always the religion first, but we forget the ethnicity where the maximum actually challenge lies. For example, the Pashtuns.
Absolutely. See, if religion was everything, why should the East Pakistan go against?
I, I rest my case. Exactly.
Mujibur Rahman won the elections with thumping majority. He was not allowed to take power. Era was different. There was no social media. There was no international hue and cry if somebody displaced someone.
And
Because Pakistani politicians were also in favor of not giving him power.
this is not the common narrative that we hear about Pakistan from actually everyone. I mean, I'd say that the narrative is very different. So it's a very refreshing kind of a narrative about Pakistan, which is, uh, I mean, I would say it's more attitudinal narrative of Pakistan
Yeah,
and
I
and
went
the
about.
army.
I had read few articles, then I did my own little analysis, then I heard few speakers, and then I made my own approach to it, and I realized that uh, while there could be a coup, but there could be an anti-coup also, that Asim Munir might just stabilize the situation. So what will happen if he stabilizes the situation? What will happen if Imran wins the election, and then is there going to be a coup? Possibly yes, but then he has already created a constituency in the Pakistan army favoring him. So what will they do? Will they support the coup against Imran? So these are many questions. Will Imran be knocked off? Because ISI after all is a instrument by itself, state by itself. In fact, I forgot to tell you, many people talk ISI as number one, Pak Army, and then the judici- executive and the
ISI has its
legislative.
own drug money and stuff like that, right? So
So we don't know exactly where. See, for example, for appointment of the chief, it went through the government. So I was wondering, if army is so powerful, why should it go to the government? Then I realized ये छह के छह आपस में बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. कोर्समेट है चार उसमें से. फोर ऑफ देम वर ब्लडी कोर्समेट्स. अब उनकी आपस में तो वो हो ही नहीं रही है. फैज हमीद आई बिलीव डजंट इवन टॉक टू असीम मुनीर इवन नाउ.
I actually understand where you're coming from because I was about to say before, probably the last thing I was going to say before we head into the question is that this is the quietest Pakistani army has ever been.
Absolutely, because senior leadership, Samshul Mirza was always harboring to become the chief, and last minute he was made the chief joint uh, chief
General
of joint
Saab.
staff committee, chief of joint staff committee. Why? So he is harboring a big bloody grouse against Asim, and he was closest to Bajwa, not Asim Munir. Do you know that Bajwa was trying for a second 3-year term? Once
हाँ वो
that
तो फिर वो the
once
papers
that
got
didn't
leaked then I think the
yeah
plan got
once that
dropped.
yeah once that didn't happen, then he said okay, Samshul को बता दीजिए आप, because he was close to him. Then they found that Samshul would not be very sure. They would not be very sure whether they will support the current government, because they have refused second term to Bajwa. तो कहीं शमशूल उनकी नैया ना डुबो दे शहबाज शरीफ की. तो शमशूल को आउट ऑफ द विंडो कर दिया. देन दे सेड यार इमरान को हिट करने वाले को बनाना चाहिए, तो उसमें असीम मुनीर वाज नंबर वन. सो असीम मुनीर गॉट द. सो हु इज बॉस, आईएसआई और द पॉलिटिशियंस? तो मुझे कहीं लगता है कि यहाँ एक 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 खिचड़ी है, उस खिचड़ी में जो कभी पावरफुल हो जाता है वो बॉस बन जाता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई द कूस टेक प्लेस. एम्बिशन एंड खिचड़ी. So,
Oh,
isn't it
that,
baffling? For me, it's baffling. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
really
absolutely. It's crazy.
I don't really understand who's the boss. By this
जैसे
logic, Shabazz Sharif
इंडिया से बात करते करेगा कौन भाई ये तो बैठे हो सारे यू कांट
इस
आई मीन
इस
हर कोर कमांडर
अपॉइंटमेंट
अपना नेगोशिएशन सेपरेट करेगा
शहबाज शरीफ चीफ अपॉइंट करता है, उसके बाद चीफ के दरवाजे के सामने लंबी लाइन लग जाती है. शहबाज शरीफ के सामने कोई पूछने नहीं जाता है, जबकि अपॉइंट शहबाज शरीफ ने उसको किया है.
फॉर्मली यस
नो, सी आउट ऑफ द सिक्स, इस बार की केस की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ दिस ईयर. देयर आर आल्सो rumors that Asim Munir is not very popular in the army because of his straightforward attitude, no nonsense attitude.
एंड ही सेंड्स हिज सन इन लॉ टू अ prestigious posting as well so
वो तो ऐसे आदमी ऐसे ही करते हैं ना. फर्स्ट सबको हड़का देंगे सो दैट नोबडी इज एबल टू टॉक अगेंस्ट देम, एंड देन दे स्टार्ट डूइंग देयर एजेंडा. दैट इज व्हाई आई फील दैट आई गेव यू द सेकंड ऑप्शन, दैट Munir may be able to. He's sizing up the situation, and maybe once he develops enough support base in the army, he had always remained neutral and hands-off approach in his life. He never created. I believe I was reading his profile. He never created a kind of a lobby for himself. That may be coming against him for taking any unilateral action also. So maybe he's giving himself that time, that once he is confident, maybe he will be waiting for these corps commanders to retire. Then he puts in his pro guys as corps commanders, and then he starts thinking of what you people are thinking.
How to make a
Because
retirement home somewhere in the beach or something.
या सो इतना इतना आसान नहीं है. अगर 10 में से 5-6 इसके आ गए, he'll be more confident of a military
Of
action.
course, of course.
So there are many other things. We have to see the profile. When are these corps commanders retiring? One will have to go on the Wikipedia to see when they are retiring. So maybe he will have that as a benchmark. That when I have most of the corps commanders who are favorable to me, that's the time I will. And DGISI who is favorable to me, that is the time I will attempt any serious action
So that
possible.
tells us Pakistani army chief is all not all that powerful as everybody in India puts it across as. So let's take some questions and some thoughts and some comments from our audience. Guys, before
Yeah.
I do, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Approaching 20,000, I think we are about 18,200, approaching sort of a thing.
Yeah.
The target is to hit 20,000 followers by the end of this month. So please help me out, spread the word. Great talks, great information, stuff you won't find anywhere else. Right, and if you can, please do help out the DevTalks efforts by you can scan the QR code right there, or become a member, or send us a super sticker or a super chat, which is exactly what Ishan has done. Thank you so much, Ishan, uh, for your contribution. Sir, Pakistan has been using extremely rude and unprofessional language against us, especially directed towards our great Prime Minister and the organizations like the UN. How can India make them behave in a more diplomatic manner in public spaces, just like the UN?
Okay. My answer to this is that such people, when they make their statements, just see how many people are sitting in the lobby listening to them.
The last time Bilawal was doing Kashmir, there were six of them.
So that is the importance attached to such people when they are talking in a language like this. We in India, like I said, must not give too much heed to such statements, because they fall flat. Actually, mostly they fall flat. What should be our approach? Our approach is that expose them at places which matters. What are those places? You have the IMF. Make it very hard for the IMF to give them the tranche. Squeeze their, I don't want to use the next word, squeeze their vital instruments so that they feel the pain, right? That has to be the approach, and not deal in rhetorics. Rhetorics will end you nowhere. Rhetoric. He gives you an abuse. You also give him an abuse. You've gone down to his level. I don't. Let your work speak for itself. And I would keep putting to you, our foreign minister is doing a great job of it. The way he
Absolutely.
responds to the US, the way he responds to the international community, that's the way to do things. Speak politely, firmly, and where it hurts him.
Targeted.
Quote examples where these people have done mistakes, and mistakes of very, very serious nature.
Exactly.
FATF, we let the opportunity go. We should have kept on hampering on these guys remaining in the grey list. Look, the IMF wouldn't have been able to even think of giving them a tranche if they were in the grey list.
So that time, तो the Americans wanted some weapons from Pakistan, तो निकाल दिया. ठीक है. I mean, okay.
That's right. That's right. I'm not
Those are
saying.
things we have to
What I'm
kind of.
saying is that we should work and at forums where we can make a difference.
Yeah. Ishan, once again, thank you so much. It seems like the Pakistanis, China, and the West were all victim of their own propaganda. They did not expect India to hit back at Pakistan so hard at Balakot, now that they expect India to thrash the Chinese so badly in Galwan.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And that has given strength to our diplomats, whether they are military diplomats living in various embassies, or whether they are foreign office diplomats who are ambassadors, first office, first secretary, second secretary. They have now a confident face to talk about in front of international community our standpoint, our viewpoint in a manner which has an impact on everybody. Look, the China has kept quiet till now. It's why it realizes that India does wield a lot of support in this region now. We may not be having the same amount of economic clout as China is having, but the economic clout of China is also dwindling. It is now actually under threat. Imagine if they grow for next 4 years at 3%, and we grow at 7%. We are closing the gap. Yeah. So we are moving ahead in every respect. We need to continue with this initiative. That's my point of view. Okay.
Rahul asks, I think the Pakistani army won't be able to queue this time because the Pakistan's economy is in a very dismal condition. If a military dictator comes into power, world, especially Western countries, IMF, won't help Pakistan.
True. That is that I told you. The Pakistan baby is so badly battered that nobody wants to hold it anymore. So Pakistan army, I think covered it in my talk in between that the Pakistan army as of now is possibly shy of stepping in also. It may be wanting that somehow the economic situation when it improves a little bit, maybe at that point in time they may think of something like intervening. I won't hazard a guess at this stage. It's a very difficult situation in which Pakistan is today. If they have to postpone elections for economic reasons, you can understand what is their condition. But they can't even hold elections.
Hmm. Will Pakistan continue trade with India, given Indian rupee to become stronger after BRICS currency and good economics of the neighbors trade?
So look, Vaman, it is all about when you come to trade, it's all about the value. If Indian rupee is going to be cheaper transaction as compared to dollar, why not? And if it is going to be cheaper than bricks, why not? So therefore, it will all depend on what kind of commodity they are going in for. Today, Pakistan is having a severe food shortage. Definitely, the most cheapest food you will get is from India. So if they are not taking it from India, it is their stupidity. There are a lot of people in Pakistan who are talking about opening land route, one of the land routes, so that food grains can come to their country. But we will give it at our own terms. Huh? We will not give it at their terms. It will be full total cash transaction, no line of credit kind of a business. Sorry, line of credit business means tomorrow these guys will pretty turn back and not give you the money.
They've already owe us $493 million for
So
some
so
medicines
therefore
that they took from us in
so
the
th- so
pandemic.
therefore this time if there's going to be trade, and what is the value of Pak rupee? We have also to think, can we hold body Pak rupee? How will we use it? Pakistani rupee.
Even Afghanistan won't take it.
Yeah, pitched at 280 rupees. Pakistani. I mean, it is four times lower than us.
Yeah,
Internationally, if you take a Pakistani rupee, even in Nepal, nobody will take it.
exactly.
So it may be that India may not like to trade with Pakistan in rupees. Sorry.
Why and how Pakistan became a terrorism economy was destroying the economics given driven country and becoming a terrorist factory part of the plan.
Look, I think General Ziaul Haq thought of a plan which, to his mind, would connect people. Till General Ziaul Haq came to power, or seized power. I would say, I won't say came to power. He seized power by superseding six generals, and that was a very bloody coup, as I would say, which he did. When he did that, he realized that the Pakistani army was somehow very secular, not that linked to Islam and radical thoughts. He felt that if the Pakistani army also becomes like the common people of Pakistan, that is believing in the Islamic rituals, etc., then there will be a good army to people connect. That was one. Then another mistake which he did was that in order to, because of an anti-India, strong anti-India sentiment in Pakistan, he felt that he will come up with a low budget strategy of 1,000 cuts, for which he needed elements who could go into India, create confusion, create internal chaos, lead to lead to downfall of Indian economy because of over securitization of India, and therefore ultimately giving away Kashmir to giving away parts of Punjab to Pakistan. That somehow he misread it, misread the capability of the Indian army, misread the capability of India as a nation to stand against such. Remember, we were almost bankrupt in 1992, but the resilience of India, the size of India, the professionalism of Indian army, professionalism of the our leaders, I would put both political leaders as well as the senior military leaders, was of a much higher caliber than Pakistan. I mean, there's no comparison. It is comparison of apple with not even oranges, apple with some khajurs, yeah, which have become a shortage now in Pakistan. Do you know that most of the khajur plantation areas have been inundated in the floods, recent floods? So they can't even think of preserving their land. Yeah, leave aside preserving their. So somewhere, I think Ziaul Haq, I would rate him as the major reason for what Pakistan is going through at this point in time. Other people just laughed it, thinking that it's a great strategy without doing a due analysis or proper analysis of India.
Interesting. Rahul says Indian government has decoupled itself from Pakistan, but many Pakistani YouTube channels are dependent on Indian viewers. Rahul, can I just correct you some little bit here? All of them are dependent on Indian viewers. What's driving this trend, sir, and what may be the reasons for excessive Indian viewers of Pakistan? Ever heard of ISI?
You see, this is a question. I think when you have a lack of information, you go to the place where you get the information. That's the simple answer to this. So that's why this is happening. Uh, in India, in any case, we are a free country, free society. Everybody is at liberty to discuss what he wants to discuss. Today, the most fascinating subject is Pakistan, and therefore you have the YouTube channels talking about it. So whatever is in the trend, that will be talked about. Russia-Ukraine war was for few years, I mean few months back. It was the Russia-Ukraine war which most of the people were discussing. We do take offbeat discussions also. I think I took one with another of your channel, Jan Shankar, on outsourcing of army or outsourcing of military. That got a very good review. A lot of people were fascinated by the idea. I mean, the entire armed forces is getting outsourced today in war fighting. So you're right. YouTube channels have become more dynamic. They are more current, and sometimes they do have masala also. So that
No,
is why
these guys
they,
are I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I think all of them are ISPR funded.
yeah,
They are maintaining a certain line in length. It's not possible that they can say what they do say on such a wide audience
correct.
and not get a thrashing back home if they've crossed the line. So I'm quite skeptical of the three, four of them. I mean, uh,
You
that's
see,
just my view.
ISPR has been told to keep a low profile publicly. This is what I have gathered.
So
And so the
there,
only way the ISPR can actually act, or ISI can actually feel the pulse, is to promote these channels, which are unofficial channel, which on which people can come talk, get away with whatever they do, get away with whatever they talk about, but they do get the sense of direction which the
what's happening?
public opinion, what's happening, etc.
What is the scale of radicalization in the army? Scale of 1 to 10. 1 is low, 10 is high.
Uh, I see there is nothing written here. People just talk that it is getting radicalized day by day. I will give you a personal life example. I was staying, and this I'm talking of 2008. We were together with 40 Pakistani army officers. We were 20 Indian army officers. In our 20 Indian army officers, I think one or two used to go to the church every Sunday. We had one Muslim officer, Ahmad. He used to regularly do his prayers, but it was not that he went to masjid. I mean, he would do his prayers in his room, wherever convenient. The rest of the Indian officers, who were by and large uh, Hindus, or some Jains, some different. We have a very happy mix of all kinds of people. Were I would put them at the line of atheist. Although they believed and they prayed in the morning and did their half a minute of pray, but by and large they remained a very very secular disposition. As far as the 40 of the Pakistani officers were there were four, five of them out of the 40 who were, I would put them as non-believers, or they kind of had a very, very perfunctory attitude towards Islam as such. They believed in happy-go-lucky kind of issue. But rest of the 30 to 35 guys were extremely, extremely particular about their activities. What is correct, what is allowed, what they can do. So if that be the situation in 2007, and remember, Zia had just died, so the effect was still pronounced. I believe this effect is slowly coming down, but a safe guess would be 50 odd percent is still of that variety.
And last question for the evening would be, asked General, everybody's talking about the rift amongst the officers in the Pakistani army regarding Imran Khan. But what about the lower ranks who are mostly madrasa educated, influenced by his views?
I had mentioned obliquely in the thing that in 2007-8, there were battalions which surrendered en masse. It was not the officers alone who would have done it. It would have been the pressure of the lower ranks which would have forced the officers to surrender. And that happened in 2007-8, fighting the Talibanis, or Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or the insurgencies in that area. So a similar trend would be there as far as insurgencies are concerned, as far as fighting in areas. Now, if you send a Baluch battalion to Baluchistan, there would be dissensions, but they are all trained by the British Army. I think they would never be sending a Baluch army possibly now in Baluchistan. But yes, the similar feelings are there in, like I told you, you can screen the men, you can screen the officers, you can screen the JCOs, you can screen the men who are joining the army. Can you screen their families? No. Can you screen their fathers? No. So they will be getting impacted. They would have their own individual minds. They are not militant. They are not free radicals. They are part of a trained army who have an independent mind.
Yeah.
Mutinies have taken place in Pakistani army. But we need to be careful of that. We need to be cognizant of that. There would be differences in them also. No mapping has been done as such, but I can map you through these mutinies which have taken place, or surrenders which have taken place. Not really mutiny, but surrenders which have taken place. They take 8 days to do operation in Lal Masjid.
Yeah,
Why 8 days? Why 8 days? Religious sentiments.
that we discussed this last time, that how do you shoot a guy who basically thinks like you,
Yeah,
looks like you, talks
yeah.
like you, reads the same stuff as you, and believes in the same
Exactly, sir.
God and eats the same
It's a,
food and probably is the chap with from your next village.
yeah, it's a difficult situation. Let me tell you, for any army, internal fighting for an army is very difficult. Police can do
Smart.
it. For an army, it is better left to external threats. Better left to external threats.
Indeed, sir. So I must say this was a very, very, very different twist to this entire game. Although, see, that's the whole thing. And I keep saying this, that there's no need to discuss the economy of Pakistan. There's no damn economy left. It's the game that is happening in Pakistan that needs to be understood, because it's still a damn dangerous country. And
Very dangerous.
it is important that we look at the army which actually plays these games.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't understand anything. Every time there is a conversation or there's an analysis that somebody does, it's all about, oh, Imran Khan said this, Bilawal Bhutto said this guy said this, that guy said this. I don't think they have any writ beyond Islamabad as it is. I mean, probably their office. Beyond that, it's the army. And the army today is, mindset is changing. There's a lot happening behind us, sir, elucidated in this episode. Sir, thank you so much. Sir, again, I'm going to request you, and I'm going to keep that presentation that you sent me, because that's a very good reference
Thanks.
material, because it's a different slide. It's something that we need to look at very carefully, because there's a whole lot which happens as far as the game in Pakistan. And I'm saying game again because it's actually a game for the Pakistani army, who sits in these big offices and decide what happens to the country. Sir, thanks again, and see you soon for another dissection with another angle that people have not heard of. Till then, sir, Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
You got 11 1100 bucks today?